Imagine a tomb so dangerous that for over 2,000 years, even the world's bravest explorers, most ambitious emperors, and most technologically advanced archaeologists have been completely terrified to set foot inside. I am talking about a place where lethal rivers of liquid mercury, ancient mechanical crossbows, and a pressurized, toxic atmosphere have kept the world's most powerful scientific institutions at bay since the year 2N BCE. For decades, the massive burial mound of China's first emperor, Qin Shi Huang, has remained the ultimate forbidden zone. It is a massive, artificial mountain of secrets sitting in the Shaanxi province that we simply couldn't open without triggering a literal, irreversible catastrophe. But what if we didn't actually have to open the heavy stone doors to see exactly what is waiting for us in the dark? In early 2026, a specialized team of researchers from CERN's newly formed Digital Archaeology department did the unthinkable. They used the power of high-energy subatomic particles to effectively X-ray the forbidden tomb from the outside. What their artificial intelligence found hidden in the depths of that mountain isn't just a static grave. It is a functioning 2,000-year-old machine, and the results they got back? They are absolutely terrifying. To truly understand why the entire global scientific community is suddenly buzzing about a high-tech particle physics lab in Switzerland looking at an ancient Chinese hill, you first have to understand the absolute nightmare that is the mausoleum of Qin Shi Huang. When the now famous terracotta army was accidentally discovered by a group of local farmers digging a well in 1974, it was instantly hailed as the eighth wonder of the ancient world. Thousands of life-sized clay soldiers, each painstakingly crafted with a unique face, distinct armor, and real bronze weapons, stood guard in massive pits located nearly a mile away from the actual tomb mound. But here is the detail that most people miss. While we have spent the last 50 years carefully excavating those clay soldiers, we have never, ever touched the emperor himself. The terracotta army is nothing more than the outer perimeter guard. The central palace, the heart of the necropolis where the emperor's body actually lies, has remained entirely undisturbed. Why have we stopped digging? Because the ancient legends surrounding his actual resting place are the stuff of pure, unadulterated horror. Ancient Chinese historians, most notably Sima Qian, writing roughly a century after the emperor's death, described a burial chamber that defies belief. He wrote that the emperor's central palace was filled with 100 rivers of flowing mercury, mechanically designed to simulate the Yangtze and Yellow rivers, circulating forever like a liquid metal map of the known world. The ceiling was allegedly a recreation of the night sky, glittering with pearls representing the constellations. But most importantly, Sima Qian explicitly described automated crossbows and spring-loaded traps rigged to fire instantly at anyone who dared to breach the entrance corridors. For centuries, mainstream archaeologists dismissed these stories as dramatic exaggerations, the kind of myth-making usually meant to deify a dead king. They assumed the tomb was just a very large room filled with rotting wood and old bones. However, modern science has repeatedly warned us to take the legends seriously. Early soil tests taken from the top of the burial mound revealed mercury levels that were up to 100 times higher than the natural background rate. The toxic danger was real, but without a way to see inside, the emperor's secrets remained safe. This is exactly where the world of cutting-edge particle physics steps in. You might know CERN as the brilliant minds who discovered the Higgs boson using the Large Hadron Collider, effectively unlocking the secrets of how the universe gets its mass. But in 2026, they turned their incredibly expensive, highly specialized attention to a completely different kind of mystery. The Digital Archaeology team at CERN is a newly formalized unit that utilizes a breathtaking technology known as muon tomography. To understand how this works, you have to look up at the sky. Every single second of every single day, our planet is bombarded by primary cosmic rays, mostly high-energy protons blasted out by exploding stars and distant supernovae across the galaxy. When these cosmic rays hit the upper edge of Earth's atmosphere, they collide with atomic nuclei and shatter, creating a cascade of secondary particles. Among these secondary particles are muons. Think of a muon as an electron's much heavier, much more powerful older sibling. Because they have significantly more mass, muons possess an almost supernatural ability to penetrate dense matter. While a standard medical X-ray can barely make it through your skin and bone, a cosmic ray muon traveling near the speed of light can easily fly through hundreds of meters of solid rock without breaking a sweat. by placing highly sensitive portable muon telescopes, scaled-down versions of the massive detectors used in the Atlas experiment at the Large Hadron Collider, around the base of the Emperor's 56-square-kilometer mausoleum. The CERN team was able to quietly track how these particles behaved as they passed through the Earth. Muons pass straight through empty air and loose dirt, but when they hit something incredibly dense, they are deflected or absorbed. By tracking millions of these tiny deflections over the course of 3 months, the researchers could build a highly accurate, three-dimensional density map of the tomb's interior without ever lifting a single shovel. But the sheer volume of data collected by these muon telescopes was too vast and chaotic for the human eye to decipher. There were trillions of individual particle tracks to sort through. To make sense of the noise, the CERN team fed the raw data into a specialized, state-of-the-art artificial intelligence algorithm originally designed to hunt for new physics and dark matter at the collider. This AI, a highly classified deep learning neural network dubbed AXOL1TL, was specifically programmed to hunt for what theoretical physicists refer to as anomalous intent. In the incredibly complex world of subatomic physics, that phrase describes a signal that statistically should not exist, a highly organized ripple in the otherwise chaotic quantum data that suggests a hidden, deliberately constructed, undiscovered structure. When this exact same pattern recognition algorithm was repurposed and applied to the massive ocean of archaeological data gathered from the tomb, the AI had to be extensively retrained to completely ignore natural geological formations. It was taught to ruthlessly filter out the dense, confusing signatures of underground water tables, naturally formed limestone caves, or the random, shifting soil deposits that naturally occur over 2 millennia of seismic activity. Instead, the system was instructed to specifically flag engineered voids and high-density metallic signatures. In other words, the artificial intelligence was hunting exclusively for things that were forged by human hands, not formed by the slow, erratic crawl of nature. Nature builds in rough, unpredictable fractals, but human beings build in right angles, perfect geometric symmetry, and unusual, concentrated pockets of heavy elements. As the petabytes of data finally finished rendering, digitally peeling away the mountain layer by layer, the high-resolution 3D models began to pour onto the glowing monitors at the Geneva facility in early 2026. The quiet, analytical hum of the control room quickly shifted into a stunned, breathless silence. The team realized they weren't just looking at the crushed, collapsed ruins of a forgotten grave. They were looking at an impregnable, highly sophisticated subterranean fortress. The first truly terrifying result came from the density map generated of the massive central burial chamber. The AI flagged an enormous, high-contrast visual signature resting at the very bottom of the primary void that could only mean one specific thing to a physicist: high Z material. In the realm of chemistry and particle physics, Z stands for the atomic number of an element, representing the total number of protons in its nucleus. High Z materials are heavy, incredibly dense elements like lead, gold, uranium, and most importantly for this specific geographical location, liquid mercury. Because the atomic nuclei of these elements are so massive and densely packed, they violently deflect or completely absorb cosmic muons through Coulomb scattering, creating a stark, unmistakable shadow on the digital scan. The muon scan didn't just find a few stagnant puddles of dried-up, toxic sludge baking in the dark. Instead, the AI revealed a sprawling, intricate, three-dimensional network of liquid metal channels carving through the stone floor of the chamber. The layout perfectly, undeniably matched the ancient historian Sima Qian's widely doubted historical descriptions of the emperor's 100 rivers. But here is the specific, horrifying detail that sent a collective chill through the research team. The mercury isn't just sitting there in a stagnant, slowly evaporating pool. When the AXOL1TL artificial intelligence analyzed the fluid flow dynamics, measuring the subtle, microscopic ways the density signatures shifted and rippled over time. As the muons continuously passed through the heavy liquid, it detected active, continuous displacement. This dynamic data strongly, undeniably suggests that the mercury is still in physical motion. The AI's digital reconstruction model indicates a massive gravity-fed pressurized loop system hidden beneath the floorboards, where the heavy liquid metal continuously cascades from upper artificial mountains into lower seas. Physicists theorize this could potentially be powered by a subterranean mechanical pump, or perhaps a brilliant self-sustaining thermodynamic siphon system. In this closed-loop cycle, the natural geothermal heat of the deep Earth vaporizes the mercury, which then rises to the cooler stone ceiling of the massive cavern. There, it condenses back into a liquid and literally rains back down into the higher geographical reservoirs, perpetually feeding the rivers in an endless meteorological cycle of toxic metal. Whatever the exact mechanism may be, it has miraculously remained operational and intact for over 22 centuries. We aren't just looking at an ancient decorative diorama designed to look pretty in the pitch black of a sealed room. We are looking at a pressurized, flowing liquid metal machine that is still running entirely on its own, completely cut off from the outside world. But the endlessly flowing rivers of toxic metal are only half of the terrifying story hidden within the mountain. As the AI algorithm delved deeper into the scans of the outer entrance corridors of the mausoleum, the only logical physical entry points for an invading force or modern excavation team, it began aggressively flagging metallic clusters at highly specific, mathematically calculated choke points. These were not large, decorative bronze statues placed to honor the dead, nor were they chests of scattered gold coins meant to finance the emperor's afterlife. The scans revealed thousands of small, incredibly high-density bronze objects positioned in precise, overlapping geometric grids along the walls and ceilings of the main entryways. When the CERN researchers took these anomalous metallic signatures and overlaid them with surviving historical blueprints of ancient Chinese mechanical engineering, the result was a perfect, undeniable match for automated defensive mechanisms. The crossbow legends were completely real. The muon scan essentially revealed complex mechanical trigger plates hidden seamlessly in the stone floor, connected to heavy, tensioned bronze springs, and aimed directly at the exact height of an adult human torso. The geometry of these placements creates overlapping kill zones, ensuring that there are absolutely no blind spots in the corridor for an intruder to hide in. Furthermore, from the excavation of the terracotta army outside the tomb, archaeologists already know that Qin-era metallurgists coated their bronze weapons in a thin layer of chromium oxide, an advanced chemical treatment that renders the metal entirely immune to rust. Because the internal chamber has been hermetically sealed and deprived of oxygen, these tensioned, chromium-coated firing mechanisms haven't degraded. The CERN scan has essentially illuminated a sprawling 2,000-year-old minefield that is fully armed, perfectly preserved, and waiting patiently in the dark for a target. The AI's structural analysis suggests that these traps aren't just rusted, useless hunks of metal. Because the massive tomb has remained hermetically sealed under millions of tons of packed earth for 2 millennia, the internal environment is entirely devoid of oxygen. Without oxygen and moisture, oxidation cannot occur, meaning the intricate bronze gears and trigger components haven't corroded or rusted away. They are likely exactly as sharp, tensioned, and functional as the day the Emperor's engineers set them. The CERN team essentially mapped out a 2,000-year-old kill zone that is still highly active, patiently waiting in the pitch black for the first unlucky grave robber or archaeologist to trip the wire. The structural voids flagged by the AI algorithm also revealed a complex series of false floors, large, entirely empty chambers situated directly beneath the main stone hallways. The physics data suggest these floors are intentionally structurally deficient, designed to immediately collapse under the weight of a group of humans, dropping them into deep, sealed pits. This level of aggressive structural engineering is what the CERN team categorizes as active defensive architecture. The first emperor of China didn't just want a nice, peaceful place to sleep for eternity. He wanted a tomb that would actively fight back against anyone who tried to disturb him. And the danger detected by the muon scanners isn't just physical. It is intensely chemical, creating a scenario that reads more like a modern biological weapon than an ancient burial site. The detectors also allowed for a highly advanced form of chemical mapping. By observing exactly how the muons were deflected by heavy, dense gases and volatile vapors trapped within the structural voids, researchers made a chilling discovery. The results showed that the vast internal atmosphere of the central palace is almost entirely saturated with atomic mercury vapor. Mercury, even at room temperature, slowly evaporates, and inside this perfectly sealed underground dome, that evaporation has been building undisturbed for over 2 millennia. This creates a highly pressurized, lethally toxic bomb. If a team of modern archaeologists were to use heavy machinery to drill even a small, seemingly harmless exploratory hole into that central chamber today, the results would be catastrophic. The sudden, violent change in atmospheric pressure would act like a punctured aerosol can, It would force a lethal, invisible cloud of concentrated neurotoxic gas out of the burial mound and into the surrounding valley. It would trigger an immediate environmental disaster, potentially poisoning the local groundwater of the Wei River Basin and causing severe neurological damage or death to anyone within a several-mile radius before they even knew what was happening. Had time to put on a specialized hazmat suit. This is exactly why the scientific community is calling the muon results terrifying. The tomb is literally designed to take you with it if you try to break in. As we look at these glowing, high-resolution digital maps rendering on the computer screens in Switzerland, we are forced to completely and fundamentally reevaluate our entire understanding of ancient human technology. Modern society often falls into the intellectual trap of chronological snobbery, blindly assuming that the year 200 BCE was a time of primitive tools, simple ideas, and crude, trial-and-error execution. But the CERN data definitively shatters that arrogance, revealing a culture of master-level mechanical, architectural, and chemical engineering that rivals modern achievements. The first emperor's royal engineers didn't just dig a hole. They understood fluid dynamics well enough to create a self-circulating, perpetual mercury river system, likely utilizing deep thermal differentials and subterranean gravity feeds to keep the heavy liquid constantly moving without the need for electricity. They understood advanced metallurgy and tension mechanics well enough to create automated, spring-loaded bronze traps capable of surviving for thousands of years without a single day of maintenance. They even deeply understood the complex physics of atmospheric pressure and chemical toxicity, deliberately weaponizing the very air inside the mountain to keep the tomb alive, reactive, and incredibly dangerous. The mausoleum of Qin Shi Huang is much more than a static grave. It is the world's very first smart tomb. It was built with the explicit, uncompromising intent of remaining unenterable until the end of time itself. And for over 2,000 years, that brilliant, profoundly lethal plan has worked absolutely perfectly. The CERN digital archaeology team is now locked in a frantic, high-stakes race against the clock. The Large Hadron Collider is officially scheduled for a massive multi-year maintenance shutdown beginning in July 2026. This isn't just a matter of turning off the lights. It means the immense, high-power supercomputing resources, the global grid of petabyte-crunching servers, and the highly specialized AI support required to process this complex muon data will be severely scaled back. Driven by this impending deadline, the team is currently working around the clock to finalize the trap map. This isn't just a simple paper schematic, it is a high-resolution, three-dimensional digital twin, a virtual reality blueprint that explicitly marks the exact location of every single hidden arrow, every collapsing pit, and every pressurized mercury reservoir. The ultimate goal of this monumental project isn't to physically open the tomb ourselves. The human and environmental risks are simply too great to justify. Instead, the objective is to provide a perfectly safe, precisely mapped path for a future generation of miniature, mercury-resistant robotic probes that might one day navigate the toxic corridors on our behalf, capturing images of the Emperor's face without ever putting a single human lung in danger. We are currently standing at a completely unique, unprecedented point in human history, where we no longer have to rely on the destructive power of pickaxes, dynamite, or heavy excavation machinery to uncover the past. We can finally see directly through the solid stone, the densely packed earth, and the suffocating darkness of a mountain, without ever disturbing a single grain of dirt. But the tragic, undeniable irony of this monumental technological leap is that the clearer our vision becomes, the more we are forced to confront a deeply unsettling reality. The ancient, mythical legends we confidently dismissed for generations weren't just exaggerated campfire stories designed to entertain the masses or blindly deify a dead king. They were an explicit, desperately serious warning meant to keep us away. The first emperor of China is still fiercely guarding his underground throne from beyond the grave, and his masterfully engineered defenses haven't missed a single beat in over 20 centuries. While the world above ground saw the rise and fall of entire empires, the invention of gunpowder, the Industrial Revolution, and the dawn of the digital age, this Silbermedian fortress just kept humming along in absolute silence. We used to look back with a sense of modern arrogance and think that the rivers of mercury were just a highly poetic, metaphorical way for ancient scribes to describe the emperor's vast, unimaginable material wealth. We confidently assumed that the automated crossbows and collapsing floors were just a fun, fabricated myth specifically meant to scare away local, uneducated grave robbers looking to make a quick profit in the night. But thanks to the invisible ghost particles harnessed by the brilliant minds at CERN and the cold, unblinking, calculating eyes of modern artificial intelligence, we have finally been forced to accept the truth. The legends were entirely, literally, real, and the physical reality resting quietly under that massive earthen hill is far more dangerous, sophisticated, and terrifying than we ever could have imagined in our wildest archaeological theories. The Forbidden Tomb has finally been mapped, digitized, and fully exposed, but the map itself serves as a chilling, awe-inspiring testament to an ancient human intelligence that was arguably just as sharp, uncompromising, and ruthless as our own. We have successfully utilized the absolute pinnacle of 21st century particle physics to finally crack the digital code of the Emperor's impregnable fortress. Yet, as we stare at the undeniable proof of this lethal, functioning, ancient machine, the looming, inescapable question remains, now that we know exactly what kind of highly pressurized, toxic, and heavily armed hell is waiting for us inside, do we ever really want to open that door? Some mysteries, it turns out, were intentionally buried for a reason, and some doors were never meant to be unlocked. History just broke, and the pieces left behind are undeniably more terrifying than anything we could have ever found written in the pages of our history books.